All right, team, welcome back. Today we're choosing your hard. We're talking about resistance training and resistance movements. We're talking about progressing and modifying resistance exercises. That's really going to depend on your member and what they're ready for. So let's get right into it. When it comes to choosing our hard, we really want to focus on maximizing our neuromuscular efficiency and endurance by manipulating range of motion, tempo, time under tension, and body mechanics. So how do we know when to modify? Who and when do you modify? We're going to modify people who are doing exercises and it looks unsafe, or they have very poor overall body mechanics, body position. We definitely want to step in and get them performing as correctly as possible in a safe manner, because we don't want people getting hurt. We want them to come back. We want them to know that we're taking care of them. When it comes to our more intermediate and advanced members, when do we modify with them? One, when they're getting close to reaching failure, let's get them to a point where they can still perform the exercise, but at a level and intensity that they can handle. And we want to progress those two members at the same time when they're absolutely just crushing an exercise and doesn't look like they're getting enough out of it. Maybe they're enjoying moving their body, but we really want to help them stimulate their muscles and get that neural connectivity with their muscles. So some of the manipulatives and the ways we're going to manipulate exercises is oscillation. That's that back and forth. We're adding our pulses. We're adjusting the speed. We're playing with tempo. We can always increase our load, right? But we always want to do that when that member already has pristine form, already looks absolutely perfect. Hey, let's try a little bit heavier on your next set. If you want to decrease that resistance when it looks unsafe, they're not locking out the movement, they're not moving through full range of motion, let's break it down for them, make it a little bit easier, a little bit more manageable, and have them perform a little bit better. We can always play with the range of motion, decrease range, lower the range. I like doing that with our lateral flies and our front raises a little bit. I call them the Arnolds, go all the way up to the sky, all the way down. Just make it a little bit more fun. Mechanics. So when we're talking about mechanics, we're talking about changing the angle of your body just to get a little bit more engagement out of that muscle group. So pivoting where your arms are, where your stance is, narrow or wide, going to a B stance, we can get a little bit more out of that joint action movement. When we talk about intensity, right, we can always increase that intensity, that speed, that velocity, or we can always reduce impact by, taking those jumps out and having things be just a little bit softer. Engagement. So we're kind of shifting your body mechanics or your body position just to get more engagement out of that muscle group. Sometimes we're struggling so hard just to be in the funky positions that F45 puts us in that we're not feeling the exercise where we're supposed to feel it. So helping somebody just shift and change their body position a little bit so they can actually feel that muscle group when they're doing one of these resistance exercises is super key. And we're going to tie that all together with our visual, verbal, and tactile cues. Of course, our mental cues as well. Don't want to forget those. Kettlebell swings, we're hinging over at the waist, snapping that kettlebell forward, leading with the hips, getting that kettlebell to about eye level, and then stopping. I want to talk to you guys. I got my own kettlebell here. One of the major awesome cues that I found works extremely well for kettlebell swings. So if you tell somebody to keep their wrists as close as they can to their inner thigh, that's going to make it way more hip dominant. And that's where we really want the exercise to be, is in their hips. So one of the first things you're going to tell them to do is, as they're hinging over, snap that kettlebell right in between their legs and really drive forward with their hips. One of our regressions for this is going to be that dead stop swing. We do these in the workout sometimes, but this is a great regression for anybody who is new to a kettlebell swing and has never done one before. That's just them stopping out front, or I say it's parked out front. They're going to snap it back like they're hiking football, then snap their hips up, bring it back down, park it right back out in front of them. So they're lowering their hips, and they're going to stop every time they perform that exercise, literally just going for one single rep at a time. If that is still too much for them and they're still not getting it, you're running out of time, just break it down right away and have them go to a good morning. Hands on the head, pushing the hips back, getting that good hip hinge, understanding their hips, feeling that stretch in the hamstrings and glutes, and coming back forward. Some of the great ways we can progress this exercise, right? We have some beasts out there who's swinging those 53s like nobody's business. Some of the great ways we can progress them is by getting into a stagger stance or that B stance, right? So we're taking your back toes by your front heel. The legs are still nice and wide. So we can put that kettlebell between the hips. And we're hinging over at the waist and snapping that kettlebell up again. Most of that pressure is going to be still in that front leg, and that's where we want it to be. So a little bit more unilateral. We're going to really feel that isolation on that front leg. So we've changed the mechanics there a little bit.
We could also want them to try to drive that kettlebell down by engaging their lats. So once they get to that top and they feel that kind of dead weight at the top, that zero gravity point, you can tell them to roll it back down. I like to use that hiking the football kind of cue. Throw it back down as hard as you can, like you're doing a dead ball slam, or you're trying to hike a football, and get that kettlebell all the way back behind you. All right, everybody's favorite, bicep curl. These get really challenging for some people, and then for some people, we don't engage them and push them enough. So this is a great exercise to progress members with. But let's talk about the regressions first. Sometimes our Y-bells, our dumbbells are a little bit too much. You get both at the same time. Members are not really making that neural connectivity to get both of those Y-bells or both of those dumbbells up at the same time. So just have them go one at a time. That slight lean forward, a little bend in the knees, really isolating that bicep that's out in front of them a little bit. The elbows coming forward, driving it up, big squeeze, letting it down nice and slow, and let the other one come up. For progressions, same thing. So we just want to mess with that joint action a little bit, right? Really going to start with those elbows out to the front, drive those dumbbells right up to the shoulders, give it a big squeeze, keep those elbows in front as we come down nice and slow. This is going to increase that time under tension. They're going to feel it in their biceps right away. They're going to give you a crazy look in the eye. You give them a high five and tell them to keep going. That's super slow tempo on the way down. Have them count 4 seconds down, 0 at the bottom, 4 seconds back up. Whew. Nothing but burn the whole time, especially when we're using things like our Y-bells. Most studios only have 3 or 4 different sizes for their Y-bells. So those men who are pumping out the 27s, this is a good way to get them a little bit more stimulus out of that muscle. Our tricep pull downs. You guys see me getting nice and sweaty in here. It is like 95 degrees and 90% humidity in Florida right now. I'm in my garage, so don't mind me. I'm okay. I hydrated today. All right, I got my band set up for our tricep push downs. One of the big things here for a tricep push down is a little forward lean and that good core engagement. So setting up in a good body position already, all right? Sometimes and doing both at the same time may be struggling for their member to get all the way down and get that good full range of motion. Have them stand a little bit closer and maybe go, once again, just single arm, one arm at a time. Push down one, stop at that 90 degrees, and push down the other. For our progressions, we really want to have members try to engage those triceps as much as possible. So maybe starting off with more elbow flexion, a little bit more towards the top, and then going all the way down and turning those pinkies way out. This is going to increase that range of motion dramatically. They're really going to feel that burn in that tricep, especially that medial and small head of the tricep. We can always go with a little bit of tempo as well, going all the way down, pausing and holding at the bottom for 2 to 3 seconds, maybe 4 to 5 seconds, getting that full extension, and then coming back up nice and slow. Our seated shoulder press. So our seated shoulder press, this is a quite difficult movement. It's one of my favorites because it just challenges my puny little shoulders so much. Sitting with your legs nice and close together, sitting up nice and tall. Our dumbbells are either at that neutral grip or that wide grip, right? And we're pressing all the way up, coming all the way down. Lots of times we'll see members leaning way back, trying to press up here. The dumbbell's coming out in front of them, which actually makes it harder. It puts more stress on their shoulders. One of the ways we can regress this, get a little bit more engagement from their body, from their core. So I have them just open up their legs a little bit, lean forward as they press up, and bring those dumbbells down nice and slow. If we're still shaking around, still moving around, the load may be too much, so we can go down to one single dumbbell. Holding it right in the middle, that nice neutral grip, pressing it overhead, biceps by the ears, and then coming right back down. Great way to progress this exercise is, once again, getting some nice, slow eccentrics. Having those elbows stop and start right at 90 degrees. You're going to press all the way up and count for 4 seconds back down, stopping at that 90 degrees, and then once again, pressing all the way up again. Lots of core engagement, lots of good shoulder burn going on, and that's what we want from that one. Our lunges. I love our lunges. There's so many variations of lunges and so many ways to do them. I know a lot of members just have trouble with them. I've seen a lot of members in my studio trying to focus on this and even just go bodyweight for that, which I love. Focus on the form and the pattern of the movement, perfect that, and then we can increase the load. So we reinforce bad movement patterns. So having them go to a bodyweight version of a lunge is perfect. We also want to think about if they're going to a bodyweight version of a lunge, or lunges hurt their knees, they might have knee issues. Something that might be a little bit better is like a staggered stand squat. So having their back toe, once again, by their front heel, chest is up loud and proud. They're pushing their hips back, pushing their knees out a little bit, trying to get 90 degrees in both those knees, pushing to that front leg, get back to that same tall position, and they can alternate each leg so they're not putting too much fatigue on those legs. When we talk about our progressions, oscillation, we're adding those pulses, adding a little bit of tempo. Definitely for our advanced and intermediate members, as they understand how to do a lunge very well, make sure when they're stepping forward, they're forcing their front knee just out a little bit, right? This is going to get a little more hamstring, a little more glute recruit. Make sure they're once again driving and pushing through their front heel to get back to that standing tall position. There's two ways to do your lunges, depending on what muscle group you want to target and what you want to engage. I always like working on my quads. I got skinny little quads. I'm trying to get them nice and beefy. All right, so I always like to take the shorter step. All right, that shorter step is going to get a little bit more quad engagement, especially if I'm staying nice and upright. My back knee is going to get pretty close to my front heel, and I'm just going to push in my front heel to get back to that standing tall position. If I want to get a little bit more hamstring and glute recruitment, I'm going to take a bigger step, a nice long stride. I'm going to feel deeper stretch in my hamstring and glute here. Once again, still pushing the knee out, but driving through my front heel to get back to that standing tall position. Also leaning forward a little bit as you get into that lunge is going to get a little bit more hamstring and glute recruitment as well. Be careful with that one, because as they lean forward, what are they going to need? Does anybody know?
They're going to drop their chest.
They're going to drop their chest, but what are they going to need when they drop their chest?
Round their back.
They're going to round their back, but what are they going to need? What are they going to need? Yeah, core engagement. Exactly. They're going to need some good old core engagement, right? Anytime we're hinging over, anytime we're leaning forward, whether we're back loaded, side loaded, front loaded, whatever, got to engage the core. Otherwise, you're just going to feel it in their lower back, and they're not going to get the most out of the exercise like we want them to. Let's talk about our goblet squat. Once again, have members hold that kettlebell, that Y belt in any position that feels good. I often try to do the goblet squats with the 90s we have in our studio and hold them like this, just lean them up against my chest because it feels much more comfortable that way. But if we're just even having trouble with a loaded squat, let's get rid of the load, my friends. Reinforce those good squat stance, that good squat pattern, pushing the hips back first, bending the knees, trying to get as deep as possible, getting that good core engagement again, and then pressing all the way up. A great progression for any squat is going to be some good old oscillation, all right? So grabbing that dumbbell, kettlebell, that barbell, whatever it is, getting into a nice slow eccentric on the way down, finding 90 degrees in those hips and knees, pausing at the bottom there for a second, and then exploding back as fast as you can, locking out those hips and glutes. Once again, core is nice and tight. You're going down super slow. You're going to hold and pause for 3 to 4 seconds, and then explode back up. Even with shorter timing and a heavier weight, they're going to feel that really hard, and they're going to get a lot out of that exercise. We're rocking and rolling. Let's go. All right. Glute bridges, loaded or not loaded. We've seen it. Oh, we all have seen it. Pounds and pounds of sandbags on the thighs, 3 or 4 plates on the thighs, trying to get the glutes going. So when we're talking about our glute bridge, once again, to make this a little bit easier, especially for pre and postnatal members, get rid of the load sometimes, right? That load is not necessary. We're trying to get that neuromuscular engagement. I like to say, drive through your heel. Lift their toes and drive through your heels. You want to create 90 degrees in those knees and drive as hard as you can through those heels and squeeze those glutes at the top. Tell them to not just bring it up to the top and bring it back down, but to really drive their hips up towards the ceiling, tucking in their hips and getting that good core engagement, belly rub again, right? And then putting it back down nice and slow. Controlling it on the way up, controlling it on the way down. When we want to progress this movement, we can get some good engagement by going single leg. Same thing, one leg's gonna stay in the air. It doesn't matter if it's bent or straight, but we're gonna drive one hip, one glute to the air, then go on the way back down. If you got those funky 3 sets, tell them on that 3rd set to just kind of split your timing. But if you got those good 4 sets like we've been getting, they can switch legs every set, get that good glute engagement or that good hamstring engagement. If we want to target a little bit more hamstring, we're just going to open up the knees a little bit of a longer angle, still tucking in the hips, abs still tight, squeezing those hips all the way to the ceiling. We're going to feel a way more in our hamstrings here, and then we're going to still just touch our butt to the ground and come right back up. People who are trying to get faster and quicker, they're like me, that is a very good move. Get a lot of good hamstring engagement out of that. So think far away, hamstrings, close, get those glutes. Our RDO, that hip dominant movement, we need lots of core engagement. We got our ego lifters. You want to lift nice and heavy, like our peak lifts today, they may not be ready for that super heavy RDL, right? So lightening the load, reinforcing those good body mechanics, those shoulders are backing down, the bar staying very close to the leg as they hinge over, and then standing up nice and tall. As they hinge over, they should get a little bit of natural knee bend, feeling that stretch in the hamstrings and glutes. and then standing all the way up. One of the ways we can just break this down again is getting into a staggered stance. That front leg is forward, that back leg is back. This way we can isolate that hamstring group a little bit more. We can feel that stretch and then bring the hips back forward. Great ways to progress this exercise is slow motion, getting a little bit of tempo, right? So we're taking 4 seconds on the way down, and maybe even 4 seconds on the way back up. Getting it from both angles, just really increasing that time under tension. One of my favorite ways to progress this exercise is to elevate the toes. If you've never tried this before, you gotta give it a shot. You can get a small plate, the 45s are perfect for that, or some small dumbbells. Have them elevate their toes on there. They're already going to be starting off in a stretched out position. So with the toes elevated, they're still going to try to get the same range of motion, but they're going to feel that stretch from that initial hinge. As soon as they hinge over and get about mid shin, from there, they just want to snap up nice and quick, squeeze and lock out those lifts at the top, standing straight up and down. See a lot of overextending on those RDLs as well, and our kettlebell swings. Try to get people to dead stop nice and tall when they're standing straight up and down. No need to overarch or push way back. It's just going to cause more lower back issues, compress that lumbar spine way more than we need to. Our bent over rows, they take a lot more body integrity than we really think, right? We're hinging over at the waist. The knees are slightly bent. Our back is supposed to be flat. The shoulders are back and down. All this stuff is going on, and you're just moving your arms for the exercise, right? So we do want to reinforce these things so they can get the most engagement out of their lats. That's what we're trying to feel. A great way to do that is have a member have a mini band on their arms. Take that mini band right across the forearms or right over the wrist. As they do those bent over rows, they're going to try to force the band apart, force those shoulders back and down, and really squeeze and engage your lats. As they do that, they're going to feel that deep burn behind their shoulder blades, and that's exactly where we want them to feel it. Another way to kind of regress this exercise is go to a single weight, right? We're using dumbbells for the day, so we're just going to use one, keep those elbows going against the ribs, driving those shoulders back and down, and bringing it right into the chest. Some great ways to progress this. So once again, some nice, slow eccentrics, going slow on the way up, giving a good pause at the top, nice and slow on the way back down. Elbows coming to full extension. Let's talk about that, all right? So one of the big things I keep with more my advanced athletes and my intermediate athletes is getting that stretch and that full contraction. So as they're hinged over at the waist here, as those dumbbells are going down to the ground, I tell them to reach for the ground. Let the top of their back almost round a little bit. Let those scapula and the shoulder blades kind of come to the outside. This is going to give them a real big stretch. And then from there, they just want to do the reverse, bring everything back and down and squeeze everything together. So they're getting a bigger stretch, a bigger contraction, getting more out of their muscles, and doing more effective change in that muscle group. Thank you for the applauses. Appreciate you guys. Sweating it out for you over here. Not everybody needs a crazy hard progression. Everybody does need to be challenged in our studio so they can ultimately see changes so they stay. Modify mindfully. Help people who need to be helped. Make it easier for them. Let them understand why you're helping them, why you're putting them in this position so you can get that engagement out of that muscle group, right? And those people who are those absolute beasts, who want those challenges, throw them at them. Give them the hard stuff. Don't just throw a heavier weight at them, but really force them to stay in good form as you put them through that progression. Make them count their reps. Let them get the most out of it. Any questions, comments, concerns? We got a couple more minutes. Yes, Anna.
First of all, Mitch, demoing is so helpful. And I really appreciate all the equipment you've got there and actually showing us exactly what you're talking about. It's awesome. Thank you so much. One of my favorite parts about this, all of those manipulatives, things that you can change to make a movement either easier or harder. Everything that Mitch just went through, those are fantastic examples. Those are just a couple of ways to modify these movements. There's a whole bunch of ways that you can regress or progress what you're seeing from them and what their goals are so that you can use all of these resources, all of these tools to really adjust for the individual.
Yeah. I'd like to double down on that, but guys, be creative, have fun. Let your coaching brains work a little bit, give people good challenges, but also at the same time, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Adding a band for a bent over row is perfect enough. If we're adding a band, we're adding tempo, we're adding a pause. You may have overstimulated this exercise way more than it needs to be just to get more engagement out of that muscle group. Go with 1 or 2 things. Don't put in 3 or 4 things. This is just going to get confusing. It's going to eat up a bunch of time, and it's not going to be very effective. Any exercises have we seen recently that I can perform or talk about for you guys? Yeah, I am.
The Zerker squat.
Zerker squat, right? Okay, let's talk about this. Members do not like holding that barbell in their forearms. It's uncomfortable, and you don't have to lie to I'm laughing at all the emojis. You don't have to lie to them. It's uncomfortable. It is absolutely uncomfortable. If they're more comfortable in a front rack, get them into that good front rack position. It's the same body mechanics going on. Pretty much perfectly vertical with their torso. They're still bending the hips and knees, trying to get into that 90-degree squat or below, powering through the middle of their feet, keeping their core tight and standing up. So just get them into that front squat. Juddy put out a video right before Tuesday's workout came out of how to rack up that Xerxer bar from the floor. I like to kind of either clean it up and then let it roll down my forearms, or I'll bicep curl it and then kind of let it slide down. But lifting it up to your thighs, getting your arms underneath there, and then standing up with it is probably the safest and best way to start.
I will say with that too, members hate that they have to lower the weight with the Xerxer. So it's always important as well to emphasize and explain why we have to go lower on some of these movements like that. When your back squat is, yes, heavier than your front squat or whatever.
Yeah. But even with our back squats we do in the studio, right? You got to be able to clean it up, press it over your head, and put it on your back. So the load selection is always, tell them to be mindful of their load selection. It's definitely better to go light and then add in some of those progressions than trying to go heavy and just fighting to get into the right position. And next thing you know, there's 10 seconds on the clock. You've wasted all your time setting up.
Yeah, I love that, Ian, you mentioned explain to them why. It makes all the difference if you share your knowledge. If you're going to ask them to go lighter, okay, I see you with those black plates. I want you to come down to 2 blues, give that a shot. And that's the end of the conversation. That person can be like, what do you mean? I always have my black plates. I don't want to go lighter. If you say, here's exactly why we're changing this movement, just how in the bicep curls that you were giving that example, Mitch, where the elbows come slightly further in front of your body. That's exactly what we're doing with the Xerxer squat. So it's just a little bit different. We're just trying to engage the muscles, challenge the muscles in a different way. So giving that teaching opportunity is really going to get people more willing to follow your cues rather than just say, nope, don't want to go lighter. I want to stay with my heavy weight.
I love that, Anna. It's like getting people to buy not only into F45, but to buy into you as a coach.
A conversation we've had a lot lately at the studio is there's a mind shift with F45 in that we're doing things different than we did a few years ago. And so those long time 5, 6, 7-year members who want to bounce around and who want to like constantly move, like today was very difficult for them because they wanted to just keep moving. You have to almost like sit down on the floor and break it down to like, let's open our mind, let's broaden our horizons, let's learn new things.
Pinnacle it's a coach-led class, right? Be assertive, be dominant. Members are resting at station number 2. You're not doing anything else. You're not doing a cardio movement. You're not doing core. You're not even doing mobility. Log your numbers. Start tracking that like you're supposed to be tracking your calories. Start logging your numbers. Start being a little bit more intentional, taking accountability. It is hard to get members to wrap their minds around that, but something like Pinnacle and station number 2, if they're lifting heavy enough and they're really trying to challenge themselves, they should 100% need that rest.
I was even, I was talking to Juddy this morning and he was like, I woke up to about 36 hate messages from members who were like, what are we doing here? I'm not working enough. And the whole conversation came back to, like you said, Mitch, this is a coach-led workout. If you aren't explaining what the function of it is, why are we doing this? Just like you said, Jennifer, the programming has evolved so much. It's changed so much. And people are going to be stubborn. They don't want to take that rest. Taking ownership of the programming and explaining it in a way that's really accessible to people makes the class so much more enjoyable, because he made that connection that these hate messages that he was getting came from studios where the coaches were just kind of like, okay, go ahead and figure it out. It's on you to take it seriously. take your role seriously. Giving the why is key. Always, Heather, right? We
Yep.
need people to buy into the programming. We need you guys to buy into the programming. Okay, so taking all of those teaching moments, that's what's going to make something that's new and exciting for members rather than an annoying change.
I love it.
And yeah, huge rounds of applause for Mitch.
All right,
Those were
thank you
really
guys.
helpful. I love
Appreciate
it
it.
so much.
I figure to go hydrate right now and probably take another cold shower. But
Yeah, go take a breather. You earned it.
for sure. It's been a pleasure, guys. Really thank you for all your engagement, your wonderful questions and comments. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon.